Hey everyone, and welcome. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're at the bottom of this huge mountain and the life you want is just on the other side? You push, you climb, you do all the things, only to find yourself right back where you started. Well, get ready for a mind-bending idea. What if that giant mountain, the one thing blocking your path, is actually you?
That right there is the core, powerful idea from Brianna Wiest's amazing book, The Mountain Is You. And if that quote just hits you like right in the chest, then you are in exactly the right place. Seriously, if you're ready to flip your whole perspective on its head, do me a quick favor. Hit that like and subscribe button right now because we're about to dive deep, and trust me, this is a total game changer.
All right, so here's our game plan, our map for the climb ahead. First, we're going to figure out what this mountain actually is. Then, we'll get into the biology of why we feel so stuck. After that, we are going to completely bust the myth of self-sabotage, decode that inner battle we all feel, and then, this is a wild one, we'll uncover the hidden rewards we get from our own pain. And of course, we'll wrap up with the very first steps you can take to start your ascent.
Okay, let's jump right into this massive idea. According to Wiest, the mountain isn't something out there. It's not your boss, not the economy, not bad luck, no. The mountain is the physical manifestation of your own inner world. It's built piece by piece from all your unmet needs, your unresolved traumas, and all those destructive patterns you keep repeating. It's not a pile of rocks. It's a pile of your own personal history.
And right here, this is where everything flips. Now, this isn't about blaming yourself, not at all. It's the complete opposite. It's about taking your power back. I mean, think about it. If the mountain was some random external thing, you'd just be a victim, right? Helpless. But if the mountain is you, well, then you hold all the tools. You have the map. You have the power to move it. You're not the victim of your life. You're the master of your own destiny.
So if we're the masters of our own destiny, why on earth is it so hard to change? You know the feeling. Why do we stay stuck? Well, the answer isn't about willpower. It's about wiring. It turns out our own brain, our own biology, is often fighting tooth and nail against the very changes we say we want.
And that brings us to this crucial concept Wiest calls toxic comfort. See, your brain's #1 job is not to make you happy. Its job is to keep you alive. And for our ancient caveman survival brain, familiar means safe. Why? Because you've survived it before. So even if you're in a miserable, soul-crushing job, your nervous system actually prefers that known pain over this scary unknown of a new career because, hey, at least this misery doesn't have a saber-toothed tiger hiding in it. Probably.
So I want you to really hear this. If you struggle to change, you are not lazy, you are not weak, and you are definitely not broken. It just means your ancient survival system is a little overactive. It's screaming at you that any change, any unknown, equals danger. And just understanding that is the first step. You're not fighting a character flaw. You're just negotiating with a biological security alarm that's a few million years out of date.
All right, get ready because here comes the big plot twist of this entire explainer. Wiest makes this incredibly bold claim that what we call self-sabotage, it doesn't really exist. Not in the way we think it does anyway.
Just let that sit for a second. There's no such thing as self-sabotage. Think of all the times you've beaten yourself up for procrastinating, for messing up a good relationship, for sabotaging yourself. What if that whole time you had it completely wrong? What if something totally different was actually going on beneath the surface?
Here's the radical reframe. What we call self-sabotage is actually a misguided protection strategy. It's an adaptive mechanism. Think of your subconscious mind like a ridiculously overprotective parent. It sees you walking towards something that it perceives as dangerous. Maybe that's success, which should lead to criticism, or true love, which could lead to heartbreak. And since it can't just talk to you, it does the only thing it knows how. It pulls the emergency brake. That's the sabotage. It has a hidden, good intention, even if the result feels awful.
And this, right here, this leads us to the new, far more powerful question we have to start asking ourselves. Instead of screaming, "Why do I keep doing this to myself?" we need to gently ask that part of ourselves, what is this behavior trying to protect me from? Honestly, that one question changes everything. You go from self-blame to self-curiosity. It is an absolute game changer.
So why does this protective instinct get triggered in the first place? Well, it's because for most of us, there's a full-blown civil war raging inside. Self-sabotage is basically just the smoke you see rising from the battlefield between two very different parts of you, each with completely opposite agendas.
So on one side, you've got your conscious self. That's the you who's watching this right now. It buys the self-help books, sets the goals, and wants growth, success, and love. It runs on logic. But on the other side, you have the subconscious self, which is an absolute powerhouse running purely on emotion and ancient survival instincts. And it is terrified of judgment, change, and the unknown. So when your conscious mind tries to hit the gas toward a new goal, your much more powerful subconscious mind slams on the brakes. Wiest breaks this inner conflict down into 3 parts. First, you have a conflict of needs. Like, you consciously want success, but subconsciously you need to stay unseen to avoid judgment. Second, trauma acts like a filter. Maybe you were told not to show off as a kid. So now, as an adult, any kind of success feels physically dangerous. And third, there's a lack of bodily intelligence. We try to solve these deep emotional issues with logic, but the problem isn't in your logical mind, it's stored in your body. It's like trying to fix a leaky pipe by reading in a dictionary. It just doesn't work.
Okay, this is where things get really wild. What if I told you that for every painful pattern in your life, you were actually getting some kind of hidden reward or payout from it? I know it sounds crazy, but this idea is often the master key to unlocking our most stubborn, stuck behaviors.
In psychology, this is called secondary gain. It's the unconscious benefit we get from having a problem. And listen, this is so important. Your behavior will not change until the cost of having the problem finally outweighs that hidden gain. Your subconscious is smart. It won't give up a protective strategy, even a painful one, until it finds a new, healthier way to get that same need met.
Let's make this super concrete. Take procrastination. The behavior is destructive, sure, but the hidden good intention is to avoid the possible pain of failure or judgment. The unmet need it's trying to serve? The need for safety. Or what about constantly starting arguments in a relationship? It creates distance, yeah, but its hidden job is to protect you from the terrifying vulnerability of true intimacy. The unmet need? To feel in control and avoid getting hurt. You see the pattern here? Every bad behavior is just a clumsy attempt to meet a very real, very human need.
And this brings us to another layer of this whole thing, the upper limit problem. Get this, our bodies can literally become addicted to their own stress hormones, like cortisol. If you grew up in a chaotic environment, your nervous system's baseline for normal might actually be a high level of stress. So when things get too good, too happy, or too calm, it feels wrong, unsafe. And your subconscious will actually create drama, start a fight, worry about something, just to get back to that familiar, comfortable level of stress. It's wild.
Okay, wow. So we've defined the mountain, we understand the biology behind being stuck, and we've decoded the secret logic of our self-sabotage. So the big question is, what do we actually do about all this? Well, it's time to take our first steps up the climb. Let's talk about some practical tools you can start using, like today.
Here is one of the most powerful techniques in the whole book. It's called reverse inquiry. It's so simple. First, just observe an outcome in your life that you don't want. Let's say being single. Step 2, just for a moment, pretend that your subconscious chose this for you for a very good reason. Then, step 3, you ask the key question. How is this situation, being single, protecting me? And the answer that comes up might just floor you. Maybe it's protecting me from being rejected again, or protecting me from losing my independence. All of a sudden, you're not fighting loneliness anymore. You're healing a deep fear of being hurt.
And really, the entire key to this journey, the secret to the climb, is radical compassion. Those parts of you that you've been fighting for years, the procrastinator, the worrier, the saboteur, they aren't villains you need to destroy. They are scared parts of you that need to be heard, understood, and reassured. Climbing your mountain isn't a war against yourself. It's about becoming your own best friend.
So, to leave you with something you can take with you right now, here are 5 incredible questions from the book. Ask yourself, 1. In what area of my life am I stuck? 2. If this problem was magically solved tomorrow, what new thing would I suddenly be afraid of? 3. How is this behavior protecting me from a deeper pain? 4. This is a big one. Am I ready to say goodbye to my current identity to reach the summit? And 5. What is the absolute smallest, most microscopic step I can take today? Don't try to move the whole mountain at once. Just focus on picking up a single pebble. Don't go anywhere. The rest of the powerful insights are coming right.
Okay, we're diving straight into one of Brianna Wiest's most powerful ideas. The single greatest obstacle you will ever face is yourself. Seriously, this isn't about fighting some battle out there in the world. Nope. It's all about understanding the mountain inside you, that whole internal landscape of self-sabotage, and then learning piece by piece how to actually climb it. So here's our game plan for the climb. First, we're going to learn how to read our triggers, not as attacks, but as a map. Then we'll get fluent in the language of our emotions. After that, we're tackling the really heavy stuff, letting go of the past. And finally, we'll reach the summit where we see the big truth: you are the mountain. All right, we're at base camp. First section, your triggers are a map. And this is where we learn something that is honestly a total game changer. Those super intense emotional reactions you have, they are not random. They're not just ruining your day for no reason. They are incredibly precise personal guides pointing directly to your deepest unhealed wounds. Oh, you know this feeling, right? An offhand comment from a coworker, someone cuts you off in traffic, and bam, suddenly your entire day feels ruined. You're just spiraling. It feels like this massive overreaction, and you're sitting there thinking, why did that tiny little thing get such a huge grip on me? That's exactly what we're talking about. Okay, so let's completely redefine what a trigger even is. Wiest says they are not attacks. They are pure information. Think of it like a laser pointer. When you get triggered, it's your own psyche shooting a little red dot directly onto a part of you that's asking to be healed. That disproportionate reaction, that's the key. It's a huge flashing sign that the emotional energy isn't really about this moment. It's about an old wound that just got poked. So how does this work? Well, it's all about projection, and it shows up in three main ways. First, we get triggered by people who have traits we have ourselves, but that we push down. You can't stand to show off? Maybe there's a part of you that's just dying to be seen. Second, we react to traits we wish we had. That flash of envy you feel when someone succeeds, that's a trigger, pointing right at your own untapped potential. And third, you get triggered by traits you were punished for. If you were always told to be quiet as a kid, a loud, confident person might set off this deep, totally irrational anger in you now. It's all about you. And this right here is the pivot. This is the single most important shift you can possibly make. On the left, in victim mode, you're just giving all your power away. That person ruined my day literally hands them the keys to your emotional state. But on the right, you take your agency back. You turn the focus inward and ask, okay, why did I allow that to disrupt my peace? See, it's not about blaming yourself. It's about getting curious about your own operating system. This one question is how you start to take your power back. All right, let's keep climbing. We've got our map, our triggers. Now we need to learn how to read the language of that map. And that language is emotion. This part is all about building real, functional emotional intelligence, right from the very beginning. So Brianna Wiest just throws the popular idea of emotional intelligence right out the window. It is not about controlling your feelings or just being positive all the time. Think of your emotional system like the plumbing in a house. Real emotional intelligence is having pipes that are wide enough and strong enough to handle any flow, a flood of grief, a surge of anger, without bursting. Self-sabotage, that's what happens when our pipes are too narrow. We get scared of a flood, so we just shut the water off completely by suppressing everything we feel. This right here is your secret decoder ring for emotions. Let's take a look. Anger, it's not bad. Wiest says it's sacred. It's a signal that a boundary has been violated and you need to stand up for yourself. Sadness, it's not a weakness. It's a cleansing process. It shows up when an old part of you, an old dream, an old identity is ready to be released to make way for the new. And disgust, that deep gut feeling is your internal compass just screaming that your life, your job, whatever it is fundamentally out of alignment with your deepest values. Okay, this next idea is so important to get. There's a huge difference between the raw, physical sensation of an emotion, the tightness in your chest, the heat in your face, and the story your mind immediately slaps on top of it. The story is, I'm a failure, or this is a catastrophe. Your suffering doesn't come from the physical sensation, it comes from the dramatic story. True emotional intelligence is just learning how to sit with the sensation without getting carried away by the story. So how do you actually do this in the moment? Here's the play-by-play. When that trigger hits, your only job is to create a little space. Step 1 is the pause. You literally say to yourself, out loud or in your head, I am experiencing a trigger right now. Just that sentence pulls you out of the emotion and turns you into an observer. Then step 2, the trace. You ask yourself, when was the very first time I felt this exact feeling? This connects the dots, tracing that emotional echo all the way back to its origin, which is usually some childhood wound. And you suddenly realize, oh, I'm not mad at my boss. I'm feeling like I'm 10 years old again. That realization just drains the trigger of all its power. Okay, deep breath. We're now at what's often the steepest, most challenging part of this whole climb. But it's also the most rewarding. We're talking about letting go of the past. And what we're about to discover is that this isn't really about forgetting memories. It's about releasing an entire identity that's holding you back. This quote is just everything. It nails it. We think we cling to our past because of the memories or the pain, but it's so much deeper. Our past, even a really painful one, gives us an identity. I'm the person who got hurt. I'm the one who failed. It's a weird kind of security blanket. The mind hates a vacuum, and the familiar pain of who we were often feels safer than the terrifying, unknown void of who we could become. So you get a choice here, right? Look at the left. You can use the past as a shield. It becomes your excuse to stay small, to not trust, to not take risks. Or you can look to the right, and you can transform the past into a teacher. That painful thing that happened isn't a life sentence anymore. It's a lesson. It becomes fuel for your wisdom, not a cage made of fear. And listen, letting go is an active process. It's not passive, it's work. First, you have to extract the lesson. Ask yourself, what strength did that horrible experience actually give me? Second, you release the energy physically. Write a letter you never send. Scream into a pillow. Get all that pent-up emotion out of your body. And finally, you consciously rewrite the story. You stop telling the story of I am a victim, and you start telling the story of I am a survivor who learned how to be resilient. Now, this redefines forgiveness in the most profound way possible. It has almost nothing to do with the other person. It is not about saying what happened was okay. Radical forgiveness is an act of pure self-liberation. It's about accepting the irreversible reality of what happened and, this is the key part, giving up the hope that it could have been any different. That hope is the energetic chain that keeps you shackled to the pain. Forgiveness is you, for you, cutting that chain. And so, here we are. We've made it to the summit. This is where all the pieces come together. Our triggers, our emotions, our past, and we get to see the ultimate truth of this entire journey. And here it is, the final massive mind shift. The whole point of this work isn't to bulldoze the mountain of your issues until the land is flat. That's impossible, and it's not the goal. The goal is to build up your inner strength, your self-awareness, your emotional skill, until you become the kind of person who can navigate their own inner landscape with grace. The mountain doesn't get smaller. You get stronger. And this is what it looks like at the top. This is the destination. You go from being a passive reactor, constantly getting pushed around by your environment and your past, to becoming a master alchemist of your own inner world. You learn to take the raw, heavy, difficult stuff of your life, the lead of your anger, your sadness, your triggers, and you consciously transform it into the pure gold of self-awareness, wisdom, and real freedom. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. What old story, what familiar pain are you finally ready to release to make space for the person you are becoming? Don't go anywhere. The rest of these powerful insights are coming right up.
Have you ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels, climbing and climbing, only to realize that the biggest thing holding you back is actually you? Well, that's the whole idea behind Brianna Wiest's work we're diving into. The mountain we have to conquer isn't some external challenge. Nope, it's the self-sabotage we carry inside us.
So, let's just jump right in with the biggest question of all, the one Wiest puts front and center. Why on earth do we spend years building a life, a career, relationships, a routine that we then desperately want to escape from? It's a heavy question, right? And the answer is pretty eye-opening. It's because the life we built often has nothing to do with who we really are. It's like we built this amazing house, but it was designed for someone else to look at, not for us to actually live in.
Okay, so to really get this, we're going to go on a climb together. Think of this as our trail map. First up, we're going to spot those sneaky phantom escape hatches we all use to run from our problems. Then we're going to shift from being escape artists to becoming the architects of our own reality. After that, we'll tackle the real climb, mastering our inner mountain. And finally, we'll get to enjoy the view from the summit. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, our first base camp is all about figuring out the why. Why do we always feel this urge to run, to escape? It all starts with getting brutally honest about the kind of life we're actually living.
Now, this is a really crucial distinction Wiest makes, the difference between a performance life and an authentic life. A performance life, well, that's the one that looks good on Instagram, the one that makes your parents proud, the one that checks all of society's boxes. The problem is, when the likes and the applause die down, you're left feeling empty. An authentic life, on the other hand, is designed from the inside out. It's built around what you truly need. And here's the quickest way to tell which one you're living. Ask yourself, if nobody would ever see me do this, would I still want to do it? Your gut answer tells you everything you need to know.
This leads to a huge symptom that so many of us get wrong. We think we're just physically tired, but it's actually mental fatigue. See, physical fatigue is simple. It's your body's low battery signal. You sleep, you recharge. But that deep, soul-crushing exhaustion, the kind that a full 8 hours of sleep doesn't even touch, that's not a signal to rest. That's a signal to change direction. It's your inner self basically firing a flare into the sky, telling you that the entire structure of your life isn't working. And because facing that truth is so uncomfortable, we invent these little escape hatches. We tell ourselves, oh, I'll be happy when I get the promotion, when I move, when... We're always putting our happiness on layaway for a future that never shows up. Or, and this one is wild, we get addicted to drama and crisis. Why? Because if you're constantly putting out fires, you don't have time to ask yourself if you're actually happy. These aren't just bad habits, you guys. They are super sophisticated ways our brain tries to distract us from the pain of living a life that isn't really ours.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem from all angles. We get it. Now let's pivot to the solution. This is the exciting part. This is where we stop running and start building. We're going to become the architects of a life that we don't feel the need to escape from.
And here it is, your life's blueprint. The foundation, step 1, is to uncover your core values. And I mean your values, not the ones you inherited or think you should have. Next, you have to reframe discipline. It's not about punishment, it's the highest form of self-love, protecting your future self. Then you actively engineer your environment, your physical space, your digital feeds, to support the person you're trying to become. And finally, you shift your focus from just managing time to mastering your energy, because that's the real currency of life. I just love this quote because it completely flips the script on discipline. So many of us think of it as this harsh, restrictive thing, but it's not. It's simply you, in the present moment, making a choice that your future self will thank you for. It's choosing the long-term satisfaction of building something meaningful over the short-term sugar rush of an impulse.
And this next point is so important. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. Think about it. Your messy desk, your phone buzzing with notifications, your social media feed full of comparison, all of it is sending constant subconscious signals to your brain. Being an architect of your reality means you have to become a ruthless curator of these signals. You have to design spaces that remind you of where you're going, not where you've been.
All right, we've got our blueprint. We've surveyed the land. Now it's time for the actual climb. This is where the real work happens. It's about developing the internal skills to move from just knowing what to do to, actually doing it. This, my friends, is self-mastery.
But let's be super clear about what self-mastery even means. It is not about becoming some emotionless robot who never feels lazy or angry or scared. Not at all. It's about creating a tiny little pause, a fraction of a second between a feeling and your reaction to it. That little pocket of space, that's where all your power is. In that moment, you stop being a passenger on your emotional roller coaster and you become the driver.
And here's what that journey looks like. Most of us start out in a totally reactive state, right? Our mood depends on the morning's emails or what we saw in the news. The next step up is to be intentional. You set a purpose for your day. But the highest level, the true architect level, is being proactive. This is where you design systems so that doing the right thing is actually the easiest thing to do. Like, you don't have to rely on willpower to go to the gym if your gym clothes are already laid out and your bag is packed by the door. You make winning easy.
A huge piece of this puzzle is engineering what's called a flow state. Think about it. Self-sabotage loves the extremes. When a task is too easy, we get bored and start scrolling on our phones. When it's way too hard, we get anxious and shut down. But that sweet spot in the middle, where the challenge perfectly matches our skill level, that's flow. It's so deeply engaging and satisfying that the very idea of escaping, it just melts away.
Now, let's get real for a second. You're going to fall. You're going to have bad days and slip back into old patterns. It's inevitable. So the goal isn't some impossible standard of perfection. The real measure of your mastery is how quickly you get back up. It's about shortening that recovery time. It's about turning what could have been a week-long spiral into a minor stumble that you bounce back from in an hour. That's the real win.
Okay, let's move on to the final leg of our journey together. We're approaching the summit, but reaching the top isn't about planting a flag and heading home. It's about a fundamental, permanent shift in how you see everything. It's the view you get to take with you forever.
And here is the ultimate truth of this whole climb. The summit isn't a destination on a map. It's a state of being. It's that quiet, powerful moment when you realize the civil war inside your head is finally over. You're no longer your own worst enemy. And all of that energy you used to spend fighting yourself is now free. It's free to be used to create, to connect, to experience joy. And this is the final mind-bending paradox that changes everything. You realize that the mountain, all those struggles, those fears, those self-sabotaging habits, it was never actually in your way. The mountain was the way. Those challenges were the very things that carved out your strength. The obstacle was the path.
So there it is, from understanding why we run, to becoming the architect of our lives, and finally, to realizing the mountain is the way. We've mapped out the entire path to the summit. Thank you so much for coming on this climb with me.
So now, I've got a question for you. Thinking back on those common escape hatches, the mindless scrolling, waiting for the perfect moment, getting sucked into drama, what is the one, just one, that you are going to consciously seal shut this week? And more importantly, what small, real, authentic thing are you going to build in that space instead? I would absolutely love to hear about it, so drop your answer in the comments below. The map is in your hands now. Your ascent begins today. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.